Okay, everyone. My name is James Clusanella, and I'm going to be the professor for this class. Hopefully, everyone has completed their week 1 assignment, which is basically just to fill out a survey and contact me. The reason why I'm doing a video for this week is obviously because we can't meet today, because today is Labor Day. But we do need to get started, so to speak, with this class. We need to get some work done this week. So, as many of you know through the announcements in the class, the software for this course is not quite set up yet, and that's a bit of a problem for us. We do need to start moving ahead pretty quickly, and I don't have an ETA for when this software is going to be set up. For any student who has downloaded software on their computer, the syllabus was clear. You did not need to do that. That was completely optional. You did not have to do that. The IT department at SUNY should be installing the software on the lab computers where we're going to be located. So there is no need to maintain software on your computer. And the reason why we're doing this is simple. For approximately 30 kids in this class, students in this class, it's going to be next to impossible to really maintain 30 different computers with 30 different setups. I've had experience with this. It's very difficult. So what we wanted to do was to standardize the software installation using the computers in the lab. For whatever particular reason, this is taking a little longer than usual. So what I'm proposing that we do for this week is to use a temporary stopgap measure, and that's called PythonAnywhere. PythonAnywhere is a website, pythonanywhere.com, where you can sign up for free. And I want to stress that this is free. Please do not pay for anything. This is a free service, or at least there's a free tier, I should say. And we're going to use this just for this week, okay? Going forward, we're going to use the official software that's going to be installed by the IT department. Until that gets done, though, we do need to get cracking on stuff here. So what I'm proposing is that we use PythonAnywhere. All right, so the first step, and I'm going to log out here. The first step is to basically to sign in. Okay, if you go to the pricing and sign up, there's a create a beginner account. Please, once again, do not pay for anything. Please create the beginner account. Okay, this is free. You click on create beginner account. Just fill in a username, make it as close as to your real name as possible. Use your school email address. And obviously pick a password that you deem fit. And from there, just register. At that point, I think you have to confirm your email. It's a pretty standard process. I'm going to log in real quick, and I see that this already is not working. So let me see what's up. I don't know why it's not working. Let's see. Anyway, as soon as you register, you should be taken to this front page. And you can always access this front page from the dashboard. This link here, dashboard. Okay? So there are two main tabs here that we care about. And that's consoles and that's files. And as a matter of fact, to make your life easier, I would suggest you open these up in two tabs. Right? So one tab will have your consoles, and one section here will have your files. Let's start with getting some basic Python work done, right? So in order to do that, we need to create a Python console. As you can see here, there's a section that says Start a New Console. And since this is a free tier, I think you're only allowed one or two. So in this course, if I haven't made it clear, we're going to be using Python version 3. All right? There is a Python version 2. The latest is, I think, is like 2.7 or maybe 2.10. I chose to go with Python 3 simply because I think that future-proofs your whatever you learn in this class. So to start a Python console, you just click on the version of the Python environment that you want, in this case 3.5. And this is going to start a Python console. Alright? What you see here with these three greater than signs, let me just quit this real quick. With these three greater than signs is what we call a prompt. right? You don't need to type this in. I think I mentioned this in the notes for this week. You don't need to type this in or anything. But this allows you to type in Python commands one at a time. I think chapter 2 and 3 kind of go over this in the shell environment for Python. So here we can do some very simple expressions. So something like 2 plus 2. What is 2 plus 2? It's 4, right? What is 20? What is 20 divided by 5.6? Some crazy floating point number, right? Anything that you read about, you can play around with in this shell. And as a matter of fact, I think chapter 2 and 3 go over some of the reasons why you use a shell. And my preferred reason is basically for experimenting. If I'm curious about how something works in Python, it's easy enough to just come to a shell and play around with it. So, for instance, let's say I have a variable called first name. It's James, right? What if I want to start playing around with some of the syntax we want with regards to slicing? Well, I could just try it right here. I want to slice from the second character all the way to the last character, and that just sorry, the character from position 2, which is M. So J is in position 0, A is in position 1, M is in position 2. So we start with M and we print out everything to the right of that. MES, right? So I don't want to belabor this. This is just here to show you this is how you access a Python shell. Okay? Now what happens when we go back to dashboard? When you go back to dashboard, you'll see that you have a console. And if I click it, it'll take me right back to that console. Right? So if I have work here, it's essentially saved until I kill that console. Let's go back to the dashboard real quick. Another thing that's going to become useful when running code from a file is a bash shell. We'll get into it a little bit, but let's start one right away. If anyone's familiar with bash or Linux, this is a standard command line interface. I won't belabor any of this. We don't really need to go too much into a bash shell here, mostly because in our official software for the class, we will not need this. Everything's going to be built into a program that we're going to call PyCharm. So we won't necessarily need to know any of this. So I won't belabor this too much. So notice with my current account, you're allowed it to 2 consoles because we're on the free level, and that's exactly what we need: 1 Python console and 1 Bash console. That is all you need, and you can always access them from the dashboard. All right. Now let's move on to how to run Python code from a file. We just saw how to run Python code from a shell. Right? You can type in arbitrary Python commands here, and you'll see them executed live. Right? However, if you want to write code into a file and execute all of the code that's inside a file, which is what we're going to be doing for these assignments, we need to be in the Files tab. So I've uploaded a template file for this week's assignment, and essentially it's 12 questions, 2 of which we'll do together in this video. And it proposes a question. You need to write code in a certain section, and you need to run that file to confirm that it runs. So I already have the file here on my desktop. It's called Week2 assignment template, and I'm going to upload this file. Right? So let's go to Documents, SUNY, Course Dev, Week2 template. Okay, we're going to upload this. We're going to upload it. And you'll see it's right here in the main directory. Now, some of you like to be organized. I certainly like to be organized. And I know this is a temporary solution, but I'm going to keep everything under a Week2 directory. So I'm going to use this feature here called New Directory, this button. I'm going to click it. I'm going to create a new directory called Week2. And now, as you can see here, I'm inside a directory called Week2. So if you ever want to go back to your home directory, you just click on here. jQuestionL is my username. And you see over here, there's a Week2 folder. So I'm going to use that. And once again, I'm going to upload the template file. Okay. Now that we have this uploaded, I can click on this file to edit it. Now, first things first, any line you see that's in green that starts with this pound sign is what we call a comment. That should be in the readings for this week. This is basically lines of code that do not get executed. I provide some instructions here. Basically, this is just a collection of small tasks. Basically, that you're going to use variables, strings, and numbers for. Everything that you're going to learn in chapters, I think, 4, 5, and 7. Each section is commented and numbered with the instructions at the top. The main thing that you need to know here is that whatever your solution is needs to go right after this session called your code here. All right, and we're going to go over this. We're going to do this together. Or we're going to at least do the first couple questions together. So I'll give you a couple freebies. However, how do we run this code? Well, that's what we need the bash shell for. We don't need this shell. This is just useful for playing around with Python. I need the bash shell. All right. So watch closely. If I do ls-al, this command here lists out the files that are in my directory that I have in my PythonAnywhere account. You'll see here there's a Week2 folder. Right? So I want to change directory to that Week2 folder. The change directory command is cd, change directory. Right? So I'm going to change directory to Week2. And you'll notice here that my prompt changes. My prompt here is now telling me, this tilde here represents my home directory. So this is saying you're in the Week2 folder inside your home directory. And if you ever get confused, PWD, which stands for Present Working Directory, will tell you where you currently are. Okay? And once again, let's take a look at what files are inside this directory. Of course, we know which one it is. It's just this one Python file. Now, how do we run this? How do we run this code? We should be able to run it just by running Python 3. So you run Python 3 space, and then the name of the file. To give you a little bit of a hint, or a little bit of a trick, I should say, anytime you want to type out a full file name, you could always just select it and do a copy and paste business. What's even cooler is using the tab key. On your keyboard, if you hit the tab key, it'll autocomplete the file name for you. Alright? So now that we write this command out, once again the command is Python 3 and then the name of the file. You'll run the code. However, you'll notice that right away it starts to give you some errors. And that's because we haven't finished the assignment yet. Okay? But this is how we run the code, and as you fill in the code for the assignment, you should run it here to confirm that you're getting the right answers. Okay? So let's take a look at question 1. All right, this is a very simple question. Generally, this is about assigning a value to a variable. Right? The variable x below is given a value of 10. After the line, after the your code here marker, we want to assign the value of Python to the variable x. Notice it's in quotes, which means it's a string type. So how would I go about solving this? Well, it's simple enough. All we need to do is assign Python as a string to the variable x, right? So we can click on save. Now, what's even neater about PythonAnywhere is there's a button here called Run This File. Okay, so it's complaining about the console limit being reached. So you know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to go back to dashboard. I'm going to kill this bash console, and now I have one console left that I'm allowed to use. So I'm going to do this again. Whoops, let's go back. Go back to dashboard. Go back to files. Let's go back to Week2. I'm going to go back to our template file. I'm going to try running this file again. Notice what happens here is that we get a new shell for us. I like keeping it in a separate tab because it makes it a little more. You get a little more screen realty. But that's okay. This is cool. Looks like the window didn't really resize very well. But notice we can now run the code here. Whoops. Let's get rid of the full screen. It's going to reload the page. Notice this button here that says save and run. I hope it's down here. Right, so I'm running it, and now notice it says the value of x is Python. It used to say the value of x is 10. And I tell you, for every question, I tell you exactly what your code should be printing out. It should print the value of x is Python. You are not to touch this code here. The code you need to, you shouldn't be touching any of the code. You need to be inserting code after the your code here marker. Okay? Now, that's a relatively easy one, but that's a solution. Just assign the value of Python to x, and therefore you see in the output, I get the expected output. All right, so that question is essentially done. It was a quick and easy one. All right. However, let's do the next one. Question 2. All right, this is just a simple mathematical statement. Right. In this example, we have a variable named Fahrenheit. We need to convert this value into Celsius using the following method. Take the Fahrenheit value, subtract 32, and then divide that number by 1.8. We're going to create a new variable named Celsius, and we're going to assign the converted Celsius value into that variable. And as a hint, I mentioned that the answer should be a floating point number. Okay, so the code starts off with a variable named Fahrenheit, and I'm assigning it an integer 90. Right? Again, I'm not to touch this code, and I'm not to touch this code here either. I just need to insert code here. So what is it that I need to do here in order to convert Celsius into Fahrenheit? Excuse me, to convert Fahrenheit into Celsius. Well, I know I'm gonna have a variable named Celsius, and you can tell here there's a variable named Celsius. So I'm gonna have to define this variable and assign a value to it. Question is, how do I do that? Now, some of you might be saying, okay, well, I know the value. This is supposed to be the expected output. Why can't I just do something like this, right? Why can't I do that? And we'll run. And you'll notice you'll get the right output, the value of Celsius for question 2. You get the output, the value of Celsius 32.22. If you submit an answer like this, I will give you 0 points for it. And the reason why is because you're not doing what the question asked. The question asked you to do something very specific, which was to take the Fahrenheit value and go through this mathematical equation, essentially, and convert it. All right. So if you ever give code like this, I am simply just not going to give any points for it. All right. You have to follow the instructions. You have to be using the knowledge that you learned from your readings to come up with an answer. If you give me a shortcut answer like this, you're going to get 0 points. All right. So we need to take the Fahrenheit value, which we already know it's in the variable called Fahrenheit. So we have Fahrenheit. What do we need to do? We need to subtract 32. Well, okay. I need to subtract 32. Right? And then I need to divide that by, right? And then divide by 1.8. Okay, so I'll divide by 1.8. This should probably work, right? So let's run it. It's a little sluggish to run, at least on my computer, and I apologize for that. When you're working in the lab, it should be much faster. But notice now I'm not getting the right answer. The value of Celsius is 72. That's incorrect. So what happened? Well, one of the things I'm trying to get at in this question is using parentheses in order of operations. Division happens first. So this ends up doing 32 divided by 1.8, and then you take Fahrenheit and subtract whatever that value is. So essentially what I wrote is equivalent to writing this, which is not correct. What is correct is doing it like this. Alright, so we're going to save and run it again. Notice now for question 2 I get the right answer. The value of Celsius is 32.22. Okay, so once again, I'm looking for something like this, not you just simply copying and pasting the expected output into your variables. That's pretty pointless, and that's not what we're trying to achieve here. So for the rest of the assignment, all you have to keep doing is putting code here to give you the right output. For instance, this one you need to use string slicing, which I sort of introduced in the Python shell. And you're going to have a series of, and notice you're going to keep seeing these warnings here saying your code doesn't work, and that's simply because you haven't filled it in yet, right? So as you go along, you should more and more of this should be running correctly. So your assignment is simply to fill in that code, save the file, and now how do you submit this to me? There's no way for me to see this file on PythonAnywhere. I am going to require that you take this file, and just like the syllabus said, if you don't remember, go to the syllabus. So that any submission needs to be a zipped up file with your name followed by the week assignment. So follow that nomenclature. But the way to get to this file now is to go back to your dashboard. Go to Files. Go to Week2. And see there's a little button here. It said Download. Download the file, zip it up, and follow the instructions in the syllabus and submit it to me via the Dropbox. Okay? I think that's a quick and dirty introduction to the Python shell and how to run Python code via a file. We'll have to reintroduce this when we get to using PyCharm, but for the time being, we'll have to use PythonAnywhere. I know this is a real pain, and I apologize. We'll try to get the software up and running as soon as we can, but for this week, let's just use this. I think I made the assignment relatively simple for this week, knowing that I gave you a lot to read, and we're having these issues with the software, and we haven't met for the first 2 weeks. So given all that, I think this assignment is relatively on the easier side. But if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please email me using the facilities in Prime. Okay, email me. I'm more than happy to help. If we need to schedule like a video chat, that's fine too. I'm going to see if I can schedule a Wednesday or Thursday office hours via a video chat, but I have to see if that software is set up in Prime. But with that being said, I think everyone should be okay with this assignment. But like I said, if you have any concerns, just let me know. All right, so that finishes that up. Let me know if you have any issues, and happy Labor Day.